Are we good to go, everyone?
Yes. Your recording has
Excellent.
started.
Excellent. Welcome. Before we get started officially, we have a message from our Spanish language interpreter, Mercado. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chris. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hola a todos. Muy buenas tardes. We're the Spanish interpreter team here with instructions on how to access interpretation. Estamos aquí con el equipo de intérpretes y les vamos a proporcionar instrucciones sobre cómo conectarse a la interpretación. At the bottom of the screen, you'll find an icon in the shape of a globe that says interpretation. Click on that, and then click on English if you're not bilingual and you would like a real-time translation of everything they say in Spanish into English. And if you're using your phone or a tablet or an iPad, find 3 dots at the bottom right of your screen. Tap on those, tap on language interpretation, tap on English, and then tap on done. I will now say these instructions in Spanish. Si ustedes quieren una traducción en tiempo real de lo que se diga en inglés al español, hagan clic en el icono en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Hagan clic en ese icono que dice interpretación y luego en español. Y si están utilizando su teléfono, una tablet o un iPad, busquen 3 puntos en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Hagan clic en interpretación de idiomas y luego hagan clic en español y luego hagan clic en done o listo. We will be putting these instructions in the chat as well for your reference. Vamos a poner estas instrucciones por escrito en el chat para su referencia. That's it from us, Chris. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you so much for those instructions. Welcome again to the North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities Self-Advocate Discussion Series. I am Chris Hendricks, Policy Education Coordinator for the Council. On behalf of the Council, thank you all so much for being here. This discussion series is a place for North Carolina's self-advocates to gather and engage with each other, to talk about things that affect our lives as people experiencing life with IDD and other disabilities. We want this time together to be used to get to know each other and to get to know the Council, where I and other individuals with IDD are leaders, colleagues, and valued for our input because we are who we are. People with disabilities should always be valued like that, and this discussion series will demonstrate why and how. Now let's go over some guidelines for a better experience. To maintain community and lessen distractions, let's use direct chat for side conversations. Do not put lengthy resource information in the chat. Please send direct chats to myself or my colleague Melissa Schwartz if your resource info is longer than an email address or a website address. As a reminder, we'll send out a post-session email including resources that are shared in today's session, along with our presenters' contact information, assuming they are okay with sharing that information.
Yes.
Excellent. We're also going to include PowerPoint slides, the resources and opportunities slides included in that PowerPoint slide, and the chat from our Zoom. Now, in order to relax into the topic, we're on to our jokes of the day. For all of you in the chat with a sense of humor, please join in. First one, how did the puzzle pieces become friends? Once again, how did the puzzle pieces become friends? Pam says they came together. Pretty close. They just clicked the moment they met. Next, we have, why do brooms have so many friends these days? Because they're just so good at sweeping people off their feet, of course. Well, I know that my colleague Philip Woodward is not here, but I know that he would especially appreciate the level of dad joke in both of those. I saw some chuckles. Oh, Brooke put one in the chat. I got to read this. Why are elephants so wrinkly? Have you ever tried to iron one? I didn't see that one coming. That was great. Today's conversation. Now we're going to go on to our. That one actually got me. Now we're going to introduce today's topic with our very special guest. Today's conversation will be co-facilitated once again by two of the council's favorite people, Barton and Megan Cutter. You might remember these two from our previous quote-unquote adulting session last May. If you're new to this amazing pair, Barton and Megan are nationally recognized speakers and consultants on relationship empowerment, disability identity, and inclusive living. As an interabled couple, they've dedicated their lives to redefining what love and adulthood looks like through advocacy and lived experience. Together, they co-authored Ink in the Wheels, Stories to Make Love Roll, a raw and hopeful memoir about their life together. The message is simple but powerful. Everyone deserves connection, autonomy, and a life with purpose. Today is going to be extra special because we're going to experience some real-life storytelling from these two amazing writers as they share their authentic experience moving from North Carolina to Colorado. As they share their experience, you are encouraged to listen for parts of the story that sound familiar to you. Whether you are single, dating, or in a long-term relationship, you'd be surprised to learn how close their story might be to yours. As always, you'll have an opportunity to not only listen, but to ask questions and share your own relationship and adulting stories. Above all, it's important to remember as we take in their story of honesty, joy, growth, and compromise, that relationships take time and effort, but they are very important and very worthwhile for people with IDD and beyond. No matter what our experience, we are not alone. As self-advocates and advocates, part of building a life worth living means having the courage to reach out, connect, and grow together. It may be scary sometimes, but through this story, I think you'll find that it's worth it. So once again, let's offer a warm self-advocate welcome to Barton and Megan Cutter. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Chris. It's so exciting to be here again with everyone and to be able to share our story. We've been married for over 20 years, and you can see here in this slide some of the new experiences we have had since moving to Colorado. We've made a lot of mistakes along the way. We've had a lot of successes on our journey, and a lot of definitions and things have changed in that amount of time. I mean, 20 years is a long time. We wanted to take a moment at the beginning of the session to ask, what does a thriving life look like for you? What does happiness look like for you? What makes you happy and joyful? So I know we have just a couple of people on the call. If there are any thoughts about that, please feel free to chime in. So today we're going to really talk about what has made a thriving life for us, even though we've had challenges to overcome.
So, as, as Megan said, our definitions have evolved a lot over the years. Once upon a time, if you had asked me, I would have, I would have said the typical answer of having a job, owning a home, some of that stuff. But over the last 4 or 5 years, my definition and our definition as a couple has evolved immensely. today, um, it really is about being happy and finding a way to make that joy come to life. And for me and for us, that means um, hiking, playing in the mountains, um, going on adventures that we haven't pursued before. Um, going, going off to concerts and and also just spending time with friends in really great conversation. Oh, where were you? The,
I think hiking and going out to concerts, being out in the community has been one of the most joyful experiences since we moved to Colorado. So going back a little bit,
sorry to interrupt, but I think that um the only way to really know what brings you joy is to examine and be real about the stuff where joy isn't as obvious as some of the more difficult periods.
absolutely. I think that just like you were saying, that joy comes when we're able to move from those really hard places and having challenges along the way. And it's that exploration of and reflection of finding those places of joy. I know when we were in North Carolina, we spent a lot of time defining what was successful for us. And we worked really hard at having jobs, and we bought a house, and we were out in the community still, and we were doing all of the things that were defined as successful out in the world.
We were miserable inside. Um,
I think we were miserable because I remember our house being a little darker, and I wasn't expecting to feel constricted, even in our house.
oh, there was that. There was the physical environment, but there was also some other realities of our dreams not not happening. Um, we we both really wanted children, and that didn't happen for us. And so that experience left us devastated and hopeful. And, um,
Yeah, I think we absolutely did want children in our lives. And when we found out it wasn't going to work for us in that particular way, or the cards just, it just wasn't in the works for us, there was a long grief period, especially for me as a woman. And there's so much around being a mother as a woman, and I really had to redefine who I was in this world, which took a long time to process. And I think coupled with the pandemic was really a time where all of us were reflecting about our lives in different ways.
You know, and you talked about you having a long period of recovery. Um, I also faced a lot of depression as, as I came back from the heartbreak. Um, and I masked a lot of that. Um, but we took a big toll on both of us. And then when the pandemic happened, we found ourselves asking, how, how, do, how do we want to spend the rest of our lives? Um,
That was a pivotal point for me, is I remember coming to you and saying, this isn't how I want to spend the second half of our lives together. And that saying those words made it so concrete that we needed to make a change.
yeah, and, and we began to talk about what we did want and what we envisioned for ourselves. Um, it's began with what kind of environment we wanted to be in. Um, Megan valued dryness, and I valued sun. So we talked about, actually, we talked a lot about moving to Arizona, and we tried, we tried to find stuff there, but it just never happened.
Well,
Um,
we also decided that Arizona was too hot.
for you, for you. Uh,
Um, I was sitting in our living room because by that point we were all at home working remotely. So I was at home in our living room working, and I had put up these pictures of a trip to Colorado. And Barton walked by and was like, "Oh, the mountains. We're gonna live there."
yep,
So exciting to have that moment of intuition, and that's where we want to be.
yeah.
This is where we're gonna go.
And at the time, I didn't know where that picture was from. I just knew. I, I just knew I was drawn to it. And we began to research con- Colorado and Denver specifically. And it, it met every criteria we talked about. Not only that, but um, when we made that decision, stuff happened very fast.
Yeah.
It was almost as if the, the universe wanted, wanted, wanted us here.
Yes, it happened so fast and everything just clicked in, and like went so smoothly. For everyone here, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it feels like an impossible experience or something that will never happen. And we had to ask ourselves during that point in time, what were the support, like what were the pieces of support that we needed to have in place that allowed for us to make that move that seemed really hard or felt impossible. But as Barton said, everything started to fall into place so quickly, and it felt like this is where we were meant to go.
Yep. We, we, we had friends. Some of us saw the house and get ourselves packed. And out here, we also had friends out here um, that were willing to host us while we found a place to live. Um, and it was not our typical lived experience. We are both really used to everything being hard and having to fight for every last bit. Um,
And this is where I really want to dive into the pieces of finding joy. So earlier we were talking about our grief journey around not wanting or not being able to have children, even though we wanted them so much. And my grief journey was very prolonged, and something pretty wild happened when we moved here. Um, I started letting go of who I thought I could be or had to be or should be. And I started stepping into who was the new woman that I wanted to be. And it came from taking the grip off of something that you want so much that just realistically wasn't going to happen. And being able to then turn my attention to other things that allowed for spaces of joy. And it came in really small elements. And this is pretty amazing. It was something as small as having a cup of peppermint tea. So I love peppermint, and the aroma of peppermint opened my senses, and then I could be open to other things. So it doesn't have to be big and huge. Maybe we're not going to make a move across the country, but in these really small places. So I started redecorating our space. Um, we have a really open space in our apartment filled with light. And Christmas lights we have decorated around our apartment, even in other
summer friend.
because it gave such a delightful sensory experience. Um, and I have all my childhood writing. We moved from North Carolina, right? It was tucked away in a closet with the doors closed. And I moved all of those writing notebooks out into the open so I see them every day. So I really want to dive like that. To me, in particular, it was a profound experience being able to find joy in all of these little unexpected places. What about
Yeah,
you, Barton?
yeah. So, as you said, those small pieces are very powerful. And for me, there were a couple things. First, being able to witness Megan's transformation was so beautiful and so powerful that I could not help but be moved by that. Um, as the other piece, especially when I was having some rough emotional spots, was I found that the more I could make a game out of joy, the easier coming out that was. So I I I I found myself gamifying my happiness. So for me, what that looked like was whenever I had a bad day, I imagined that bad day as being a reset button on a video game. So every time that happened, I got to start over, and my game with myself was if 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 I had one positive day, uh, I would try to that to having to be following this rough day, and then the and then the game would reset, and then if I got 2 days, I tried to go for 3 or 4, and over time I found that that got me to see more and more positive stuff happening in my experience, and it also extended the time period between rough spots out to weeks, and then to months, and then to years even. And to be honest, whenever I have a rough day, I still use that game.
And
Okay?
Barton, what is the reset button for you? Like you talked about extending the days and, from having one good day, like how did you extend those days? What were some of the things that you used as the reset button?
Yeah. So the reset itself, um, as some of you like might know, I tend to meditate a lot. Um, so, so reset button might be for me a day of silence, or 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 sitting down in meditation for 8 hours at a time. Um, just so that I could get grounded back in the present moment and not worry about what I had to do for work or what we needed to do for the house or
Mhm.
or what or even what Megan needed.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to see what can um, entice us into that reset. Like you talked about meditation and, finding those spaces of calm. And for me, when we go on a walk or a hike or a new trail, that's where I settle in and can find that reset button as well. So it's like finding whatever activities that really perk your interest and give you those places of space.
Yeah, eh, and and you might be surprised to find out what happens. We, for me, I, I've, we, I've gone back to writing more poetry. Uh, I've written more poetry in the last 6 months than I have in the last 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say the same for me. There have been activities such as writing poetry and yoga that I've stepped into that I haven't done in forever. And we want to be real, right? We still have challenges. We still have
Mhm.
things that happen. This morning, I had to be a health advocate to myself. And a couple of years ago, we had to get Barton a new wheelchair. And um, and it was
So, you know,
denied it, insurance denied it at first. So we had to go through those challenges that as people with disabilities, we might experience in different ways.
so having a joyous life by no means a means having a perfect life. Our life is far from it, but the level of joy and relationship and involvement we have in the community here is something that we, we never expected before.
And it also makes those places of challenge and hardship like less devastating. So when we were being advocates for your wheelchair specifically, like there was a lot of emotion in that. I'm not gonna lie, I was very upset and angry. I think that happens
You
naturally,
was,
right? When something devastating happens. And it was hard being an advocate in that particular time. I had to write an advocacy letter on your behalf. And at the same time, I was going through a creative workshop for space to write. And I thought I would be writing poetry, but instead I was writing an advocacy letter to get your wheelchair. And that was such a contradiction of like life, right? That's how life works. Um,
oh, not only that, but as I recall, you, what you said in the letter also went against some of your own beliefs and values.
yeah. That's why it was so hard, because I see you as being really independent. And here I was writing an advocacy letter to get your wheelchair, where we needed to say you were dependent on the wheelchair. So it was this contradiction of life.
And those systemic biases that we still have to work within.
Right. But having the my writing community, being in that creative workshop, allowed for a place of self-expression and to be able to navigate that situation where we weren't alone. And going back to who are the support systems that you need to rely on, our community was a real big strength to be able to step into and to feel their support during that time.
Yeah, yeah. To that point, I, we've always had a community. We've always been involved with community. And the level of relationships we have here is so different from what we ever had in writing. Um,
Yeah, and that's something I haven't experienced before. Yeah.
in your life, not only during our time.
Yes, that's very
Uh,
true.
Um, and I think there are moments where we are still really baffled by that because it's so outside of how we lived for so long. And I, I imagine those of you who know us and have known us might be surprised to hear that. But I feel like it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Well, when we lived in mining, we were so focused on our professional lives, making stuff work in that domain that we cut ourselves off from having genuine relationships that was fulfill us as much as we fulfill the other people.
Yeah. And I think being able to find those areas of inherent true joy is something that was very unexpected. So we've been talking quite a bit. We wanted to ask anyone here, what are some simple things that bring you joy?
Megan, this is Chris. That's such a great question. And I just want to share with the audience that if you feel like raising your hand, do so using the Zoom hand or your own. And if you don't feel like you want to share in that way, then feel free to share your answer in the chat, and I will, just to start things off, I've always felt a little bit more joy when there's a guitar in my hand.
We know.
I knew you guys would do. I know you all know. But, Laura, looks like you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Well, I like to hear Chris sing too, but I find joy in writing. And I really like y'all's post on Facebook and everything too.
I'm also a fan of their Facebook posts.
But I like to write books and poetry and short stories and all kinds of things.
Laura, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
Michaela says baking and reading brings me joy. They're great answers.
That is a great answer. I love reading as well. And I'll go out on our patio and sit out there and read in the afternoon. Reading and sleeping, yes, there's nothing like an afternoon nap.
Yes.
I love taking afternoon naps and like on the weekend, like. But I love to read too.
So in this moment, just look at what's happening. We've talked about having a guitar in your hand, writing, baking, reading. What's happening to our faces? Faces are lighting up when we're talking about these things. And we're not even doing them. We're just talking about them. These are absolutely things that give us joy, and it shifts our environment when we're able to step into them or talk about them or do them.
And as Megan said, at this moment, we're not doing them. So, even if you can't immediately do the activity, it is possible to shift yourself by just remembering the sensation of that experience.
And even in, so we brought back the picture of like some of the things that we've been doing since we've moved to Colorado. We were in Yellowstone and got very close to the bison. We've enjoyed multiple concerts at Red Rocks, and there are several pictures of us out hiking. One of them, I am wearing pink overalls. Because that is what brings me to a place of self-expression where I don't have to be a particular way. I can be a little bit more free while we're out and about. And so even looking at these pictures can bring a smile to our faces.
Man, these are such beautiful pictures and such beautiful examples, y'all. This is one of those sessions where I really wish we just had I want to give y'all like a 3-hour platform. Continue to share these joyous moments. And I just I hate to be that guy. But we have to keep going, friends. Let's do the poll really quick, and then we'll go over some resources, and then if there's more time after this, we'll ask questions and see if we can't have any final words of wisdom from Megan and Barton. Let me just go over these questions real quick. I am a self-advocate, a parent, family member, or neither. I live in an urban area / big city or a rural area / small town. I think the self-advocate discussion series is good, bad, or I don't know. I learn from the self-advocate discussion series always, sometimes, or never. And I use the Spanish interpretation feature, yes or no. And then let me know. We've got 7 of our 14 participants have participated. Does anybody else want to answer the poll real quick before I move on? I should say before we move on, excuse me.
Chris, go ahead and move on. Let people look at the questions, and I'll leave the poll up for just a couple more seconds.
Okay. Sounds good. So that poll really helps us, honestly, it lets us know as a council whether we're doing a good job on these things. And maybe one of the things that you submit is, hey, every once in a while when guests come, we want to have an extended session. And we'll talk about that. Let's jump to some of the participant questions. We would love to hear from you. Once again, if you have an answer to any of these questions, feel free to unmute and share, or raise your hand in the Zoom, or drop an answer to the question in the chat. I'm just going to read all of them really quick, and then look for raised hands. Number 1 is, what part of Barton and Megan's story sounds familiar to you? Number 2, tell us one relationship success story, i.e. meeting a friend, partner, or solving a problem together. Number 3, what's your biggest takeaway from Barton and Megan today? And number 4, what can you teach us about relationships based on your own experience? I'll read number 4 again. What can you teach us about relationships based on your own experience? I know that's a lot. I know I kind of went fast today. But I just wanted to give our participants an opportunity to answer. Jenna's answering number 3. Jenna Gallo says, my answer to number 3 is be yourself. Your biggest takeaway from Barton and Megan today was be yourself, which is a huge takeaway.
Yeah.
Because I think as self-advocates in particular, we can forget that at times. Any more participants want to jump in and share their experience? Cindy, Philip, Danielle, Georgette, Janae, Michaela.
We have time.
We've got time. Laura Noel says they are more adventurous than we are. Today is me and Rob's 20-year anniversary. Wow, congratulations. Man. Michaela says her answer to number 4 is, or what she would like to teach us is that every relationship has its ups and downs.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
That is certainly true.
Well said.
Laura says, I hope we can be like them when we grow up. Me too.
Who said we were grown up?
Who says we were grown up? I love that.
This is Melissa. Chris, did you read Sarah Potter's chat?
Let me scroll up and catch it. There we are. Sarah Potter says, so good to hear and see Megan and Barton. It was wonderful to know you guys are doing well. Thank you for sharing your joy today. Well, I'll tell you what I got out of it today as a self-advocate is that joy is the name of the game, y'all. finding those moments of joy. And I also just want to take a quick moment to thank Megan and Barton specifically, not only for your storytelling, but for your vulnerability. In particular, I appreciated your ability to be human with us and to share, to just be so vulnerable with not just those up times, but with the down times as well. That's huge because, clearly it's all worth it, Janae says, the number 3, what's your biggest takeaway from Barton and Megan? Their ability to determine what works for them and doing the scary thing anyway. What an awesome share. And Laura was vulnerable in the chat as well. She had mentioned in the chat that she and Rob had struggled to have kids as well. Thank you for that vulnerability, Laura. Sarah Potter says North Carolina misses you.
That's why we keep bringing you back.
That's right. Melissa, do you want to share your biggest takeaway?
I do, because I'm behind the scenes and I'm allowed to look at the script. And one of the things that was most impactful to me, one of my biggest takeaways today, was Barton's message of the point is not to give up on your dreams. Even if you have more limitations or restrictions, there are still things you can do to have a thriving life. Music you listen to, making friends, and looking at what brings simple moments of joy in your life. I love that Megan spoke of just the peppermint, her reaction to just having the peppermint in the peppermint tea. It's just such a simple, small thing, but for a moment, it gives you a chance to reset. And I do want to thank you again, Barton and Megan, for accepting yet another invitation to come participate in this advocate discussion series in your old stomping grounds in North Carolina. Thank you both so much for always being willing to share the real life experiences that you have. And we still have a realistic amount of time. If there are any other attendees who want to just say something about what was new or different or surprising to hear from such an extraordinary couple. You said you've been married for 20 years?
Almost 23.
23 years.
Oh, wait, no, I can't do that. I can't do
It'll
that.
be 22. We're so old we've stopped counting.
32.
22.
Yeah,
22.
22. Amazing. Jenna
I
Gala
love it.
says that simple things go a long way. Jenna, if you want to share anything
Yeah.
specific, for example, in your space, in your life with you, what's a simple thing that helps carry you for a long space of time? But you don't have to. But we're glad you're sharing today. Thank you for sharing.
Pets. Jenna says pets.
Yes. We have a little husky who's behind Barton, and he gives us such joy.
Yeah.
Anybody else have pets around here? Raise your hand, show a heart.
I have 2 cats too, Laura, and I love them very much. They also drive me insane. Laura says her cats are Wyatt and Grace.
Great names.
Awesome names.
All right, Chris, I'll keep advancing slides if you like.
Well, yeah, that's fine with me. I'm going to take some time to go over some resources. The first one you see there is Elevatus Training. It's a national leader in the field of sexuality and intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism. offering evidence-informed and trauma-informed products to help professionals, educators, self-advocates, and parents skillfully and confidently navigate the topic of sexuality. Some books at the top of the list, of course, we have to have Ink in the Wheels, Stories to Make Love Roll by Megan and Barton Cutter. Another is Belong, Find Your People, Create Community, and Live a More Connected Life by Radha Agrawal. And a biography called I'm Not Disabled, I'm Just a Little Inconvenienced by Karen Moy Stallings and Ellen Russell. Now a couple opportunities. On the fourth Thursday of the month, we have our Council Presents series on May 28th. It's talking about apprenticeships. And June 25th, one of my and Pam Hunter, my colleague Pam Hunter Dinsey's favorite topics, plain language. If that interests you, visit the website and be sure to register. And of course, our next self-advocate discussion series, Discussions. On June 17th, we have voting with Kenny Myers from Disability Rights. On July 15th, we'll be discussing the Americans with Disabilities Act anniversary, where we're going to be talking about what the ADA Act has done for us and the resources that it provides for our population thus far. And on August 19th, if you're a techie like me, well, actually, I tend to cause technology to shut down. But if you like technology, August 19th will be assistive technology. It'll be sure to be a very interesting discussion. And before we wrap up, we have a couple minutes. Like I promised earlier, I wanted to give as much of the floor to Megan and Barton as we could. And so I want to bring it back to you all and see if you have any final points for us, whether you're whether you're single or not. Any additional periods, exclamation points, or question marks for us that you'd like to share?
I would say to find where you feel most like yourself, where you can most self-express who you are and step into those places. And I loved the conversation we had at the end and hearing everybody's responses. Thank you for that, because we learn from each other. We're here learning and testing and experimenting and find what works for you. What would you say, Barton?
Yeah, I second all of that. Uh, and I would add, you know, don't, oh, don't underestimate the small moments. If, yeah, if you have enough small moments of joy, then they add up. Mm. It doesn't have to be big or flashy. Simple stuff is often the deepest and most profound stuff.
Don't underestimate the small moments of joy. They add up. That's a huge takeaway for us, Barton. Thank you both so much for being here and being such wonderful presenters. Once again, we would love to give you a wider and a longer platform. I honestly, you're such good sharers that this is once again one of those few times where I'm sort of out of words. So all I can say is thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who made this possible. All staff behind the scenes who made this magic work. Thank you to our ASL, our ASL interpreters, and our Spanish interpreters. Thank you so much to the captioner. And above all, of course, thank you to our self-advocates here who had the courage to participate today by coming off camera, and those who had the courage to participate in the chat. Self-advocate discussion series that the council puts on would not be here, quite literally, without you. Nothing about us without us. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we will see you next month.
Bye. This is Melissa. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, take care. Go ahead, Melissa.
I know that several of us have a hard stop at 2 p.m. So there will be like a 3 to 5 minute debrief for those of you who can stay, who are on the staff team. I will ask folks who are not on the staff working team to please exit the space at your quickest convenience. Thank you very much again for attending.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
You're on the staff team. I hope you have 5 minutes.
I have a few minutes.
Okay, three minutes.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. And I'm going to stop the recording. We only have the working staff here now. That's us. Congratulations, everybody. What a wonderful and amazing session. I know that folks have to leave. So Megan, I'm going to let you go first, and then Chris, because I know he has, beyond a shadow of doubt, he's already late. So Megan, what did you think of the session? How did it go? Any final thoughts about the experience? What could have been better? What went well?
I thought it was great. I thought it was great, the participation, the chats. There was a lot of communication by the chats, and people were very open. So I thought it was great. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming, as always. Chris?
Yeah, I don't want y'all to go anywhere. It was wonderful. I'll also just share, based on my experience in our time doing this, that I gotta give you and Barton credit. It was your storytelling and your vulnerability that gave our audience permission to share in the chat, and the moments of unmuting. We've had previous sessions where there was much where it was much quieter, both in the chat and on camera. So thank you for pulling the answers out of our audience, and allowing them to feel comfortable enough to be themselves.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
I want to thank Ryan and Ernest for sticking around for just a minute. Pam, are you a cutoff at 2 p.m.?
Got a little more time, but I wanted to address Megan and Barton.
Okay, please.
I sent a private chat, same chat, separately to the two of you. If you have time, and we can follow up later. If not, then that's okay. But thank you both.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you. I do want to hear from our interpreters. Ryan, we don't usually get to keep you this long, so do you want to go first?
No, I thought everything went great. Perfect. Yeah.
Excellent. We get better every time. Thank you. Ernest?
Everything went smoothly. Namely, I'm glad that my internet connection is behaving.
It's the little things in life, isn't it, folks?
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful, because we're as a staff team, we are still getting into the, talking at the right pace and making sure that we don't read too fast and all of those kind of things. And our interpreters teach us a tremendous amount every time they're in our space and they talk to us. And if there are things that you don't want to say in front of the whole team, please by all means send an email. So I want to preserve people's privacy and sense of security as well. We haven't heard from Barton. Your last, but of course not least.
No, I try to echo everything. I thought the participation for the stuff I looking was awesome. I really want to thank the interpreters because we all did a fabulous job, and I know that there are times when other interpreters miss parts of what I said, but that was fabulous. So, thank you.
Very welcome.
I love to hear our interpreters get a lot of accolades because they certainly deserve every accolade we can extend. All right. Well, if you have got to leave to go to another meeting, I want to excuse you and thank you one more time before you go. And I look forward to sending a post-session email, which I haven't done in a long time, to make sure I thank you all again. Pam has her hand up. Go ahead.
Want to make sure, Barton and Megan, that you all know that when we get the things ready, these sessions are uploaded to our YouTube. So if you ever want to give a shout out and share that recording, please feel free to do so. And you know how to contact Melissa. And if there's any question or problem with that, she'll let me know.
Cool.
And thank you, Megan. I
Thank
saw your
you.
time.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Pam, thank you for saying that about the YouTube. I don't know why I didn't have a slide. I usually have that mentioned on the slide, right? To show people where to go to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. I can make myself a note on my debrief notes. All right. Well, you're in the office, so I can come down and see you. Bye, Barton. Take care, buddy. Talk to
Thanks.
you soon. Bye for now. Oh, yeah, I stopped the recording, didn't I? Yeah. No. Are you sure I'm going to stop recording to the cloud?